Hello and welcome to Hold and Modify. This is Q with YouTube's most underproduced, poorly produced Amiga channel. Amiga related things channel. Today we're looking at something that those of you on the Commodore Amiga Facebook group may be familiar with. It is my Apple Water that I created actually as part of a tutorial series for this very channel. If you go look back at my Lightwave basic videos, you will see, let's do some ham, you know I love my ham. You will see that I have this series where I make this apple, I make this water, I animate the water, and I show you how to do it. But it was a still frame. I never actually did this as a animation that could be rendered and created. So what I wanted to do was add some animation to this and then let the Amiga chew on it overnight, hopefully only overnight. And I want to make a big disclaimer right now for all you out there, I do like to let my Amigas render overnight and chew on animations. Usually when I do that, I will render low resolution 320 by 240. I'll write out my, as I've said often, my 24-bit IFFs, and then I'll compile an animation on or make frames however I want in art department. And that's what I do for keeping it real, keeping it of the era for playback on Amigas. I know I can take this animation and play it on my 1200, of course, play it on my 3000. Well, I couldn't play it on my 3000. It's a ham 8. Unless I made a regular ham 6 animation, I could play it there. But it's a friendly format. You know, 320 by 240, you're going to be fairly Amiga safe, right? But I like, I'm trying to do like a hybrid. So I want to make animations a little larger. So I want to render at like 640 by 480. So double the size, yes. And while the Amigas, even these 68060 powered Amigas or 68080 if you have the Vampire Amigas, can chew through this, even a 640 by 480, they can chew through a lot of content overnight. There's a couple of factors, especially with original Amiga hardware, to take into account. You are going to be putting your Amiga through far more stress than it ever sees with most games. Yes, there are a handful of games out there that do stress the Amiga, the 3D type ones. And yes, there are definitely demos out there that will push her. But for the majority of folks using their classic Amigas, you're playing games on it and it's fairly safe. But when you get into this 3D rendering business, it can really put a lot of heat and electrical stress. And I just, honestly, I don't recommend it. I mean, I'd hate to see you leave your Amiga on overnight, you come the next morning and the power supply is burned out, or some cap on the motherboard finally gave out, or a diode popped. I mean, it's all possible. These things are ancient. And if you have an accelerator, an original style accelerator card in there, who knows what could happen to that. That's one reason. The other reason is when it comes to rendering, even back in the days, even back in the late 90s and mid to late 90s, we often tried to find ways to render faster than what our Amigas could do with our Lightwave content in particular. And there was even a box that was created called the Raptor, and it was actually the reason we had things like ScreamerNet, which in the Amiga is a standalone program, and it was pretty much created around the Raptor concept, which was a box that contained 4 CPUs. I forget what they were. I think they might have been Pentium Pros, or they could have been something more exotic like DEC Alpha RISC stuff. I just honestly don't remember. And the point is that you would telnet into that box and execute the ScreamerNet program to render your Lightwave content on this super fast box. And my version of that today, so the second reason I tend to not want to render my animations on original Amiga hardware, is I use WinUAE. I will fire up WinUAE and on numerous computers, or honestly, you could fire up if you have a Pi and you're using Amaberry or Pimiga, and render on there. That's like your render engine. That's where your render farm. So I would suggest creating the content on your original Amiga so that you can see here you're limited in what you can do because it's limited hardware. And I think limited is the wrong word. I think it's about becoming efficient. You become much more efficient, and it's more challenging as an artist, as a 3D artist, where you can't just dump polygons and objects into a scene and fill it up with 100 lights, because the Amiga is just it's not going to be able to keep up eventually. I mean, you've got to create your art with the restrictions of the era, and I like that challenge. I am not saying that is what and how you should use yours. I just like that challenge. That's the part that I find fun and creative. But when it does come to the brute force rendering of all this stuff, I have no problems firing up an emulator and dumping the scene out there and letting it chew through it. Now let's get back to why I'm loading the Apple scene up. I'm loading the Apple scene up because I want to add animation to it. So the first thing we're going to do is go up to the scene editor. And again, as I always like to say, guys, I have a whole Lightwave basic series of videos. Yes, the video quality of those videos lives up to my channel's mantra, which is the most underproduced, poorly produced YouTube Amiga channel. So I apologize for that, but if you can sit through them, they go over all the basics. A lot of things I'm going to be quickly skipping over here. So the first thing I'm going to do is set this to 24 because I like the look. I like the motion cadence of a 24 FPS look. That's a film effect or a movie frames type effect. We're going to set the frame range from 1. And I think for this animation, I like to do 100. And of course, that's going to set back to 0. All right, let's do 100. So now when you go down here, the little time slider, you're going to see I can go all the way to frame 100. But of course, nothing's happening. So what I'm going to do is something really simple first. I'm going to go to the end. I'm going to pick my camera, go to move. And then I'm just going to simply just do a move over to the left. And then come back to the right. And this is going to be really, really simple. Nothing fancy, nothing fancy. So there we go. We have a nice little right there. And then we're going to create a keyframe. And then if we hit make preview right now, and let's do bounding box, you'll just see. There we go. There's a little frame counter in the corner. And remember to click 24 so you actually get the playback speed that you want. And you can see we have a nice little orbit coming around the apple. And the water will be undulating and animating. And then the next thing we want to do to add some life to this, more life to this, is the apple. So let's go to like frame, I don't know, 47. And what we're going to do is very subtly, we have the object selected, we're going to move. We're just going to add a little drop, just like that. And then a little rotate like that. Key it. And then we'll go ahead and make that animation again. So we'll hit play, remember to click 24. No, okay, so now you can see like the apple just did a weird shift right there. It was like, rank. I mean, maybe it's a little unmotivated. If you want to better visualize exactly what the apple is doing and you're not having to fight what the camera's doing, because the camera's moving too and it's kind of throwing off what's going on with the apple, you can go to your side view just to get a good look at the apple, or perspective view. We're going to go to side view. We're going to click on view. We're going to click on zoom. One of the things I want to point out to you guys, these view buttons up here all have hotkeys, and it's 1, 2, 3 on the keyboard, 4, 5 is light, 6 is camera. It's pretty simple. So again, 1 for front view, 2 for top view, 3 for side view, 4 for perspective, 5 for looking through the light, 6 through looking through the camera. So I try to remember to click buttons on the screen because I know you guys are watching and you can't see what my keyboard's doing, but if you start seeing things moving around and without me clicking, that's because I'm using keyboard shortcuts. So now we can go back to the object and we can get a better idea of what the heck it's doing. And here we're going to go back to bounding box because now looking at the side of the apple, you can get a better idea of what it's doing, even as a box. And as you can see, it's kind of rotating a little bit. It's like not doing much. So let's go to frame like 23 and let's do just a little bump down. Okay, I'm not touching the rotation, just moving up and down. We'll go here, let's move it up, keyframe it, come here, move it, boop, back down, and then it should already have a keyframe that kind of brings it back up. let's make a preview of that. Oh, you can already kind of tell as it's making the preview there. It's doing a nice little, there it goes. Kind of has a little Bobby Apple thing going on, a little slide there, but at the end, but that's okay. It's in the water and it's got a little bit of rotation. So yeah, maybe the trick is really not so much about rotating the apple because it looks a little weird when you do that. And if that little slide at the end really bugs you, then you can just kind of move it back subtly, keyframe that. And now we could even make a preview in the wireframe to really see what it's doing. And just like NPR, I'm going to sip my coffee while talking to you. Ah, yes. All right, so here we go. Yeah, little random bobbly blooking going on there. I'm gonna press 6 for the camera view, scene editor. I'm gonna turn that water back on, but I'm just gonna use dots. And I'm actually gonna turn the apple off. I don't want to spend any time on the apple right now. So one of the next things, okay, I said I don't want to spend any time in the apple, but it's selected, that's why it's showing it to me. So even if you turn the something off, I forgot to mention this, if it's selected, it shows up, of course, so we'll turn that on. Next, we're going to do save scene, folks, because we've done a lot, and if Lightwave crashes or your Amiga freezes up, you don't want to lose everything you've done. Always version up. Don't keep overwriting the same thing. Always version up. Those LWS files are not that big. They're tiny. Remember, LWS files just contain animation, light, and camera settings. They don't contain objects or images. Those are sold separately. Those are saved separately. So what I want to do now is Lightwave has this other cool feature. So we're doing dots. Dots doesn't really help me much with water because I want to see how it's actually animating. So I need to go to what's called every other polygon mode. So instead of showing you all the polygons like that, it has a thing called every other polygon mode. So we're going to do every other polygon. Think it's a lot faster. And again, we don't want to fight what the camera's doing animation wise, so we're going to click 4 to go to perspective, and then we're going to go to the view, and we're going to do move, kind of move a little bit here so we can get a better idea of what's going on, and just zoom out a little bit, get a little better aerial view of what's happening. What I want to do is I want to see how this water is actually animating. To do that, we're going to have to do the full wireframe, which is why I did every other polygon. So as you can see right now, pretty quickly, the water's not animating. It's just static. So that's no good. So we'll go to the object. We're going to go to the displacement map we have for it to make the pretty water. And we're going to go to texture velocity. And we're going to start with something extremely tiny, like 0.01. That's 0.01, oops, that's 0.01 of magic Lightwave units, which they call it SI, standard unit. It's basically, you know, metric. Oh man, I am just all over the place. I gotta get used to these keyboards. You can go back and forth with keyboards and it can become a problem. So click use, click make preview, and this is gonna become kind of a rinse and repeat thing until you get something close. So already I can kind of tell that speed might have been a good guess. I mean, after all, one of these, you can barely see it in the background because it's the same color, but that gray square, that's the grid I was talking about, the reference grid. We know that's, I guess, 1 meter. So I did 0.01, so it's very subtle motion. Play, 24. Yeah, feels watery. And one of the things you can do too to help break up the fractal noisy thing of it is, yeah, you can add more frequencies to it. I tend to not do that though for water, because if you get too many frequencies, it can get too noisy and then the water gets really choppy. If you want choppy water, that's how you can do it. You could add more frequencies, increase the amplitude, and you'll get choppier water. But this, I kind of want a subtle water. But one of the things you can do on the velocity is actually just increase the speed of one of the channels. So we're going to do that. We're going to give X motion a little more. So we're not having so much. I'm going to go to full polygons now. So what's going to happen now is instead of the water just undulating up and down, which looks fine, I've given it a little motion on X, so it'll have a little bit of drift. Will any of this read with the camera move we have? Maybe not. And now I'm not going to sit through this entire thing. I'm not even going to cheat and record and fast forward. I'm only going to do a couple frames because I don't need to see all 100 frames of this to know if this water is going to work or not. I usually give myself about a second. So if I'm doing 24 frames a second, I'll let this cook up to about frame 24, and then I can see if it's going to work. If I can't tell within that second of footage, then maybe I should take up plumbing. Okay, so there we go. We're going to hit play, back to 24. There you go. In fact, I'm looking at that now that I can see it in full wireframe. My brain is already kind of picturing what this will look like slowed down one more notch. And this is the joy of this, the joy of 3D, is you can start to figure out in your head what something's going to look like without even doing it. So like I saw that speed and I'm like, well, if I have that speed, so now I've done 0.01, 0.005, 0.005. In fact, I'm going to take this to 0.00. No, we're going to leave that at we're going to leave that there. I don't even really need to make a preview. I think I know exactly what this is going to look like, but I'll just do it here to confirm that it's going to slow it down. Because I'm thinking that is it was a little hot, a little fast. And so now we're going to just slow it down a bit so the apple doesn't look like it's surfing. But yeah, already I can kind of tell that you'll start to visualize in your head, well, half that speed would look like this. And that's one of the tricks that can help make you more efficient, is when you start doing this enough, you start to visualize changes you're going to make in your head, and they'll actually be correct. So hit play. So yeah, there we go. That's about half what it looked like before, and that's what I wanted. So now we can go back to the scene editor, and we can go ahead and turn our apple back on into full happy mode. I'm going to, actually, you know what? I'm not going to do full happy mode. We're going to stick to points, and the water we'll even keep as points because I want maximum speed. Hit 6 to go back to the camera view. Once again, save scene, version up. Make a preview, all of them. You're like, well, Q, you can't really see what the water's doing. Yeah, you can. My coffee. Back to 24, and we'll hit play. Now you can see the apple just kind of bobbling in the water there. Maybe you could add a little more rotation to the apple, a little more bubble. Yeah, maybe, huh? So we'll go back to the apple. And we'll say, you know what, apple, I want to do a little rotation. Let me do a little click there. Let's go here. Let's do that. Let's go here. Let's do that. Of course, you're not keyframing, Q. Do I have auto key turned on? Let's go check options. General options. I have auto key adjust. So you know what? With auto key adjust, wherever you've created a keyframe, you should not, it'll actually record that. So to verify that, let's go to the cameras. We have a keyframe at 0 and a keyframe at 100. So I'm going to take the camera and I'm going to go way up here. And then I'm going to go back to the previous keyframe and see if it did it. So it does do it. So you don't have to hit create keyframe every time you change a key if there's already a keyframe there. So let's bring the camera back down. And we'll make that preview. I was thinking about making this apple an Amiga beach ball, you know. Wouldn't that be neat? So there's the apple. You kind of see it's got a little, I mean, I know it's probably hard to tell with the, especially on screen here, but it's a little bit of a bobble, rotating left and right, kind of a bank bobble. It's cool. I like that. So with that done, let's go to record, make sure it's 24-bit IFF, save RGB images. Oh, this stupid assign. We're going to say, I'm going to say assign volumes toaster. And it's still going to yell at me. Right. So work, Lightwave, renders. Well, I don't have my Apple folder, so back out to Workbench. And it is frustrating that you can't create folders within Lightwave. You have to come back out to Workbench. But hey, thanks to the beauty of Workbench multitasking, we'll call this Apple Water. And we'll go back to Lightwave. We gotta go back out to refresh it, come back in, and there's Apple Water. And then we'll call it Apple Water I guess V2 app water. App water. Yeah, I do like to use short file names because if you make them too long, it starts to get out of hand. So we're going to do name.3 of pad and then the extension. And the display is 8-bit ham, but the render is going to be the frames being saved out are going to be 24-bit IFF. And let's just do another sanity check on that. We'll save scene again. Because all I did was set output paths this time, I'm just going to overwrite what I've done. Although, again, that is risky. You could crash as you save the scene file, and then it's going to be corrupted. So now we're going to just check out a frame. Look at the water come. I mean, you can see right now, this is with no anti-aliasing, the pixel smoothing stuff. And it's fast, I mean, but it's going to take a while. There we go. So there's the apple. Or eventually maybe an Amiga beach ball. Who knows? So next I'm going to turn on the anti-aliasing, the pixel smoothing. I'm going to go as high as enhanced medium. And the reason I'm doing enhanced medium is because this is water and it's pretty sparkly and crunchy. And I want to make sure it's not sparkly and crunchy. I'm going to turn off the render display because this will actually save us some time and some video memory. Especially, I mean, not that you really should multitask much while Lightwave is rendering, because honestly, your system is going to be 100% tasked. But you can free up some chip RAM by not having this display buffer running in the background if you're going to multitask out. So if you come out here, you know, you're not going to be murdering your chip RAM as much. So I turn that off for when it comes time to render. Save RGB turned on. We know we're doing 24-bit IFFs. Camera is 640 by 480, enhanced, blah, blah, ready to go. Save scene. Apple water, save, yes. Go down to hit the render button and you click automatic. You click OK and off it goes. Off it goes. And it renders all night. And then you wake up in the morning and you look at it and you go, ooh, I did something. All right. Well, that's it for now. I'm kidding. I'm gonna, through the miracle of editing, as always, I'm gonna go ahead and just show you the animation that we did today. Thanks. Let's see what I did. I'm sure it's amazing. And we are back. Yes, we are back to see Apple Water, the amazing animation brought to you by Holden Modify, the world's most underproduced, poorly produced YouTube channel featuring Amiga content. Yes. All right, so with that intro out of the way, Apple Water. Yay! There it is. I think the water might be too fast. Oh well. But heck, it only took all overnight to render. Yeah, overnight. And that was even on my WinUEE render farm that I use for rendering content I create on Amigas. So even with the power of that, it still took overnight, folks. Something to think about. There it is. Playing back, 640 by 480, Ham 8 looks gorgeous. There is a weird flicker frame in there. I don't know what that is. That could be Fred freaking out or art department freaking out. Could be a color palette issue. Edit around it, right? No, I mean, obviously you could dive into that further and do some research. But the point of this is to show what all you Amiga guys already know, that Ham 8 especially is a beautiful mode. Out of the box, near broadcast quality colors. Didn't need to buy anything else. Always suggest an accelerator card, especially for you 1200 guys. Definitely jam a 040 in there or faster. For speaking of the era, definitely would have, and I did put an 060 in my 4000 back then. And it's just something to be aware of. You want to have as much horsepower as possible. But yeah, it looks great. I love Ham 8. I love my Ham. Ham was great, and then Ham 8. Wait, no, you should say Ham is good. Ham 8 is great. Okay, thanks for watching, boys and girls and others. Later.